Okay, so I think that's right. I hope it is anyway. So just like to make you all aware then that councils and members of the public be aware that this meeting of the council is being recorded and live streamed to YouTube. To ensure that the electorate can be certain that only councillors are voting, would councillors ensure that their video is switched on, please? Non-councillors taking part, and we haven't got anybody tonight. Thank you. Non-councillors taking part in the meeting are asked to have their video switched off until they're called to speak, but we haven't got any non-councillors in here tonight, so that doesn't apply. So welcome everybody to the December meeting of the Parish Council, Brownheads Parish Council. It seems, I just got to say, I suppose season's greetings to you really, but just thinking back, this is I see Neil's in his festive suit there, and saying we should be wearing hats and stuff. I just have to, I can't help but remember Margaret Boone, as she always got us mince pies halfway through the meeting. She'd just get up and disappear, and what's going on here? And she'd come around with the mince pies right in the middle of the meeting. So it just makes me think of that really. So anyway, we've got on the agenda item 2 is Councillor Felton's acceptance of office. He has accepted office, and we did mention it at the last meeting. It was just that it was on the agenda for tonight as well before we had the last meeting. So it's already accepted office, so we know about that. And apologies, do we have any apologies, Denise?
Okay, I've got Phil has got someone in his family that is poorly, and Karen is poorly herself. And also I've got an apology from Linda, Joe and Keith, who are at a Staffordshire Moorlands District Council committee meeting.
In fact, I think it's a full council meeting, I think.
It's a full council.
Yeah, I think it is, yeah. So they can't really miss that. So we'll just come on to that in a second, a bit more about that. So thanks for that. We've got no parishioners in at the moment, so no comments to report there. We normally have district councillors report and the county councillors report at this point, because they aren't here. Although, to be fair, Keith Flunder, who wants to do more than just put past his apologies, he's almost aghast, I think, that he's missed a council meeting and wanted to talk to Denise and myself last night to make sure he was up to speed with all the things that are happening in the parish council, so he didn't miss anything. And really, just wants us to know that if we need any assistance from him, he'll support us in whatever way we want to, really. He particularly wants to see how we're getting on with the lights and stuff for Christmas. And I think, if I'm reading between the lines, he may have a bit of money tucked aside if we need some for something. Okay, so we'll have to perhaps think about that later. And I think that might be his own personal money I'm talking about here as well, not his council money. I think he's got some, I think he wants to support us personally, so that's good to know. Declaration of interests. Got any interest to declare? There's nothing on the agenda. No, I know, Nigel, but I don't think there's anything on the agenda tonight. That's, means that anybody's got to declare any interests. But if it does arise, then we'll mention it, and I'm sure you will point out that you've got interest in those things.
That's fine.
Yeah. So next item is item 8, and I can't believe how fast we're going through this. So item 8 is approval of the minutes of the ordinary meeting held on Wednesday, the 4th of November. Can somebody move them, please?
I think there's only Jenny.
Yeah, there's probably only me. It was there, was it? Yes.
Yeah. Looks like it'll have to be me as well.
Sorry, and Rob.
Yeah.
Rob as well.
Rob came in late as well, so I'll second him, and then that's, we have to take it as read as they are approved. It's a bit of a challenge, that, actually. I just think what the procedure is there, to be honest with you, because
Sarah was present as well.
Yeah, Sarah was present, yeah.
Can't hear you, Sarah.
Sorry, I was busy saying I was there, but I was on mute. Sorry.
Yeah. So there is four of us then, so it's not a problem. So there's 4 of us that were present, so that's no problem.
Pete, sorry, can I just, who seconded that then? So,
I second it,
yeah,
which is unusual, but I thought we were going to give you in a problem house. So we did have an extraordinary meeting, part of which was as confidential business. That will be brought forward to the council at the next meeting because I haven't had enough time to prepare that. But I do want to mention, if there are any members of the public watching, that one of the items that was agreed at the meeting, which was done under confidential business, but the decision for that was not confidential. And that was a request by the vendor of the Hollybush pub for us to sign a confidentiality agreement or a non-disclosure agreement. Not just us, but the district council as well, who are going to be looking at the documents. They'll be required to sign a confidentiality agreement, which is probably normal in this situation. But the Parish Council agreed to sign that, because if they didn't, then we wouldn't be able to purchase them from Hollybush pub. That's one of the conditions of the sale going ahead. So there are members of the public watching on YouTube, or just for the record, that's one of the things that will be in the minutes at the next meeting. Activity tracker is the next item, item 9. And first item on there is seeds for Wildflower Meadow, progress report, councillors Owen and Turner. Sorry, we have got the whole thing up there, so that's quite good. So have we got any of those things that we've actually finished there? There aren't, are there? Storage of all rats ongoing, safety, yeah, safety check, that's okay, yeah, purchase mobile traffic speed sign, okay. So some of those things on there we need to be focusing on and getting done. I mean, it's active, but we aren't, we're not progressing them. So I'll look at that and we'll see if we can kind of get some progress going before January.
Well, I came past the hooping wall and nothing's been done there.
No.
I came past the other day.
No. I think what we're going to have to do there is we're going to have to talk to Keith about that.
Yeah.
is that the one I reported, Nigel?
Yeah.
That was the one, yeah.
Yeah.
The problem with that is it come with the winter, water's going to be going over the road and it'll be all icy. So anyway, so move on. Item A then is seeds for Wildflower Meadow, progress report. And I think to progress, it hasn't stopped raining since we had for nearly 2 months now. So we're having difficulty, Nigel's having difficulty getting in the field, but we've possibly missed the planting season for the seeds for this year. But over the winter, I think Nigel's going to try and get on and rotivate it and whatever he does to the ground to prepare it so that we can sow the seed as soon as we possibly can. We haven't purchased the seed because if we are going to wait until spring, we want the seed not to have the yellow rattle in, because yellow rattle won't germinate unless there's frost been on it. So we'll have the seed, and we'll have to put some more seed down, broadcast yellow rattle, pure yellow rattle next autumn, which we can do. It's not a problem.
We're just waiting on the weather there, aren't we? We're
just waiting. Yeah.
Yeah.
As soon as the weather gets, we can get on it, and we'll be doing it. Nigel's on the case, and that's it. Next is the application for a grant for food for the vulnerable during winter. I think Clark's got something to report on that.
Yeah, we've actually been successful from the Western Power Distribution grant for festive funding. Festive food funding. We've managed to receive £500. So that'll go towards, I don't know whether it'll go, Ian Wolvers came on, didn't he? And he was interested in doing something with the Connect Church. And I know Linda was involved and Joe's involved. So I don't really know yet what they're planning, other than Joe was talking about possibly the Haregate Centre can do some Christmas meals. But then it's tapping into who actually wants the Christmas meals. I think that's going to be the issue, is actually finding out if there are people out there that really want them. Yeah, but I think Joe will know more about that if he does manage to come on later.
I think from our point of view, I think it's really important that we've got to be very careful. If we aren't doing food for everybody on the village, are we? I think what we're doing, we're supporting somebody who wants to do it through his church, and I think that's fair. That's fair enough. Just as we'd support other people, perhaps if they come forward and wanted to do it. But I don't see that the parish council should actually be doing that. To be frank, I don't expect any councillor to be out and serving food to people. It's a voluntary thing, isn't it? So that's my take on it. You might have a different view on that and feel we should be doing something ourselves. But this was a request from a member of the public or a member of the church to see whether we'd be able to support them, and we can. So I think the thing for us to do really is to go to Ian and say, look, Ian, we've managed to secure some money. Have you got some ideas about how you can, divvy out some food to the needy on the village? I think that's what we should do, really. I don't know. Has anybody else got any views? You think we should do that or what?
No, I think you're right. I think it stemmed from there. So
Yeah.
we should allocate the money there to.
We seem to be supporting it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly it. I mean, that's what the parish council's for. We've managed to get some money, off. I think that's a good thing. I'm a bit concerned that they haven't got they haven't thought it through. But that's not for us to say, is it? I mean, we just need to go to them and say, Ian, we've got some money for you if you want to use it. If you can't use it, then has anybody got any objections if it goes to a neighbouring parish?
No, if we can't use it. No.
Yeah. Okay. So that's because my concern is that we won't spend it, and that and we need to find a way of spending it for what it's there for, don't we? Really. So if it goes to another parish, then I think that's the next best thing. And I'm pretty sure that Endon are doing something, but I think we ought to ask Morton Green, ask Darren if they do anything down there. Excuse me. You ought to, assist. Us wealthy people in Brown Edge. See if Endon wants some support, eh? Okay, so let's move on to the next thing. We're all in favour then. That's what we'll do. We'll speak to Ian first of all, and then if that fund money's not available, we'll see if we can find somebody else who wants it locally. You're all okay with that?
Yeah, fine.
Yeah. Okay, move on to the next thing there. Councillor drop-in. So what was this about? This is Keith and Joe and Linda, and if we want to as well, the Parish Council, wondering whether we should hold a Zoom drop-in for people who've got issues, whether they want to come on Zoom or ring in or whatever, to just as a I don't know, a drop-in centre like type thing. So in other words, they'd just call them. If we weren't on Zoom, they'd be calling up, going up to the village hall to talk to us once a month or once every other month. But can't do that. So I think the idea is just to hold and publicise a Zoom meeting where people can come in and connect with issues. So we're all okay with that to happen. I mean, I don't see why, I don't see it's a problem, but we need to publicise it really, I suppose.
Yeah, is that for the district or for us as well?
Look, county, district and parish. And I think if we're all there, then they're going to get us, aren't they? Because, if somebody's coming talking about bins, they don't know who's responsible. Or holes in the road, they don't know or holes in footpaths. I mean, that's even better, isn't it? Hole in the footpath as district council, hole in the road as county council, And it's usually the parish council will get them to do it anyway. So it's a bit of if we're all there, I don't say all, I'm only anticipating to be me there, representing the parish council, but, we all haven't got to be there as such, but it's just somebody from the parish, somebody from the district, somebody from the county, and let's see if we can do something in January.
You normally do that on a weekend, Pete, or?
Yeah, normally done on a Saturday. once a month or once every other month. It's like once every other month, but they come to Brown Edge once. Sorry, it's once a month, but they come to Brown Edge once every other month, and I just go up and say hello and talk to people. That's it. So we're all in favour of doing that. It's not, it's not really something to organise. He's just letting you know that that's probably happening, so you're in the loop. And the next thing is weight restriction for Hoff Hill. And this was Doug Wardle raised this, if you remember, at the Parish Council meeting, and I think he's got a good point because and you probably have to declare an interest here, Rob, but the number of trucks going past your house, single track road, no passing place, and they're belting up there. They really are. I mean, it's like up Cluelow's Bank there, and up Brick Bank the other side, and then down Off Hill. It's like a rat run for wagons.
I will declare an interest because obviously one's just gone past my house now as we speak. To be fair, it's certainly a HGV one towable trailer on there. Yeah, it's becoming an issue along the roads with the embankments and everything eroding away.
Peter, can I just ask, coming from a transport background,
yeah,
I can't understand why they would be running around that area. Now, there's obviously a road haulage company and a heavy goods repair facility up on Laskedge and Biddulph Moor, but it's very rare that I see that operator's vehicles coming through there, and that company is Smith's, and they usually sort of use Park Lane to access Biddulph Moor. So what's changed recently? Is there something in the road network that's changed, or is there some kind of facility in the Laskedge area that these companies are having to gain access to?
So I don't think it's one separate thing, okay? But I think the main thing is Blackhurst's, which is the slaughter place up at Gadshill, the end of Ladymore Lane there.
Yeah. There's also Brassington's as well, is one of the main haulers that come past. I mean, you're probably looking at least 12 to 15 a day, I would imagine.
Yeah, it's not designed for that, and certainly, if you looked at the Transport Association or anybody like that, or the Road Haulage Association, they, other than access, you wouldn't use that type of road. And the only thing you'd probably expect to see on there is milk tankers and vehicles for livestock. So I just wondered whether there's something. Is there a set of roadworks? Is there something in the Congleton area that's forcing traffic that way?
There have been a lot of roadworks in Biddulph, hasn't there? Over the
and
quite a number of months now. I think they've just about, but now they've moved actually more towards Congleton, and there are roads. I've been through there today, and there's been roads going to be closed next week.
Yeah. So I don't know. I just I think Doug's got a point, and I don't know what we do about it. Whether we just speak to the county council about it or monitor it or whatever. But I think he's got a point of them coming straight down into the village as well. I mean, not just going past. They're coming down Off Hill.
It's not designed for that.
No. It says on the agenda we're looking to put a weight restriction on it, but would that, I know there is businesses over there, if you put a weight restriction, they're going to suffer. We need to look into what is causing the problem. You know what I mean? There's them businesses that have run fine over there for many years, so
the chances of us getting a weight restriction are absolutely zero, and I'll tell you why. We couldn't even get a weight restriction on Wilfield Lane.
No.
How we stopped vehicles going down Wilfield Lane. We took the signs off. If you look at the bottom of High Lane, there used to be a sign pointing across Wilfield Lane, pointing to Stockton Brook, and the same thing down Stockton Brook. It's gone. We took them off, and that stopped it in the main. But you can imagine, coming up Edgefield Lane, there was great big wagons coming up there as well. And we couldn't get a weight restriction for that.
No.
So,
I don't know. Yeah, sorry. I don't know who the traffic commissioner is for the local area, Peter, but that might be a good place to start. I don't know.
Is it
Yeah.
something county council know about? Because
It's the
obviously,
county. Yeah, it's county
Yeah.
council issue, isn't it?
'cause
So
we
I
have
think we need to talk to the county council about it and just say, this is the issue. What can we do? Is there anything that we can, do to affect it?
yeah,
The
definitely.
worrying thing is that the half hill is going to be frozen over in the mornings and sort of late evenings quite soon, and coming down there in a car is dicey sometimes. To think if there's 30-odd 32-ton trucks flying down there is quite dangerous, really.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a heavy goods license, and that is one of the last places I'd want to take a truck. I don't like driving the car down there, never mind the truck.
Yeah.
So I just don't know why they're doing it. There must be, there's something obviously that's changed, Rob, I think, because we've noticed that as well. We've actually started going a different way to get into Biddulph now because that road is so problematic, not just trucks, but vans as well. Seems to be a lot of traffic on that road.
There is a lot of traffic, vans especially. Yeah, tea-time vans. Yeah.
So, okay, I think we just speak to the county council. I don't know who it is at the county. Let's talk to Keith and find out who the person is that we should be talking to. Have a conversation with, not just pointing out the problems. I think we need a conversation with him as to what we can do, and how can we escalate it properly, officially.
Peter, something that might be useful, and I don't know how you'd get it done, is rather than putting a weight restriction in, is put signs in saying not suitable for heavy goods vehicles.
Yeah.
So that doesn't put the weight restriction in, but then that kind of deters those that don't use it to access a business.
Yeah, I think that's the kind of thing we can do, and I think it's about the only thing we can do as well.
Are we able to instruct a survey on there? Like they put the 2 ropes across the road. Are we able to do that as a parish?
Well, Rob, it brings us on to that really as well, because one of the things that we are going to do is talk about that junction at the bottom of our hill. And one of the things that Keith has got or had allocated, but we didn't take it up last year for some reason, was a traffic survey at our hill, because the only way to solve the problem of belting down off hill is to change the priority, so that Sandy Lane becomes the main route and the Hoff Hill stops becoming the main route. And to do that, though, what we need to do is to do a traffic survey to find out how many cars are using each of those 2 lanes. So to do that, we need to have as you say, these rubber things across the road to survey. So I think it comes into that as well.
I don't know if they're sophisticated enough to do weight limits on those devices now or not.
I don't know. Again, that's
number counter.
I don't know. I bet you can do anything you want. It's just about how much money you're paying for it, isn't it? I suspect.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that's where we need to talk to the county. So that's one of the things that we've got funds put aside for, to help. But Keith said he'd found some money, so that's something we need to find out about really, because we got the budget for it this year. That traffic survey.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the next stage in this really then is it to talk to Keith or find out who it is at the county council, that we can have a conversation about how we go about helping residents along that route.
I think it's talk to Keith, and Keith will direct the director of who to talk to.
Yeah. Okay, so we're all in favour of doing that.
Yeah.
I think there's no alternative really. Let's do that. Okay. Okay. So the next thing then is report from District Council Transport Subcommittee by Councillor Felton.
Okay. So we took a subcommittee meeting last week on the Thursday after our extraordinary meeting. And basically, this is looking to work with the provision for cycling, travel, transport, and also looking at footpaths, connectivity and links in and around the Staffordshire Moorlands. So there are a number of members in this subcommittee, and they range from people in Leek, Cheddleton, Brown Edge, and of course Biddulph and Endon. And Joe Bagnall presented a number of different maps during the meeting, which we were all given access to. But what we quickly realised is that all of these maps are going to be quite difficult to try to circumnavigate. Now, what we came away with from that meeting is that we need to have some form of interactive map that everyone can remove and add layers to. So Councillor Flunder was going to take a look at that. And then in the meantime, I agreed to go away and start to try and see how we can map out some of these various footpaths, cycleways, and how we can start to look at the links. And I think, Denise, I sent a very crude example today over to you of probably one of the easiest ways of doing it, really, which is to actually go and ride and walk them, report on the condition of each one of them, and actually see how we go from there until we can all actually physically get in a room together and start to work this forward. Now, there is funding. There is funding for national cycle networks and to improve them. But what we've been challenged with is actually trying to provide cycle networks that can get people to and from each of the towns and villages, that can actually get people to and from work, and that can actually give people access to leisure and to some of the more extreme activities that some of us like to go and do. So it's coming along quite nicely, and I've agreed to try and map out the Biddulph area and Brown Edge area and perhaps some of Endon ahead of next month's meeting.
Okay.
So
you will. Yeah. One thing I was struck with, I've been to a couple of other district council meetings, and without a shadow of a doubt, Adrian, there's money here being thrown at this like I've never seen before.
Yeah.
This is like once in a lifetime. This is the kind of people now have realised that, you know, we can't carry on having more people, and more cars, and more roads, and et cetera, and we've got to find a better way of doing it.
No.
So, you know, so the money's there for the infrastructure, which I don't, you know, which is surprising.
Yeah, there was a lot of discussion on maybe trying to get some light rail back into to some of the lines that have been disused. And I think that's been talked about for quite a long time, especially the line through Endon. And there's a lot of real emphasis on trying to look at where these sustainable corridors are. And that's the real important thing. So hopefully we can get some funding to work on this. But one other thing that was brought up at the meeting is, you know, people like to cycle for leisure now, and, you know, in terms of extreme activities as well. And yet we've got the whole of Staffordshire travelling to one facility in the Cannock Chase area.
Yeah.
And so really there needs to be some access and some thought on what can be done in the north of Staffordshire as well from that perspective.
Yeah.
Because when you've got people travelling an hour each way in the car, that really isn't good for the environment.
Spoils the whole idea of it, doesn't it, really? Yeah.
Yeah, it certainly does. So now hopefully we can drive that along in a good way.
Excellent. All right, thank you very much for that. That was interesting. Right, bear with me a second. No. So I can't see why that's repeating. There's nothing on my machine at all. Okay, so let's move on. Next thing is electric vehicle charging grants and the possibility of charging hub for the village. So it's been mentioned several times in the past, and one of the things in the neighbourhood plan that we identified, and one of our comments that we passed to the inspector for the local plan, which was never picked up, nothing ever done about it, was there was no provision in the local plan for charging points or facilities for charging points. And that was just ignored by everybody. And unfortunately, it's like a lot of our comments that went into the local plan. So I'm glad to see that people now are starting to realise that we're going to have that instead of having cables put all over the flipping roads or whatever, the alternative of being brown edge in particular. So I think Adrian mentioned at the last meeting, I think, that there were ways that we could look to partner with people or provide space for people to provide charging facilities for electric vehicles on the village. So tell me more, Adrian, I think.
Yeah, I think that the whole sort of idea was, and it became a little bit more relevant last week, is that perhaps we're looking at the Hollybush, aren't we, as a community hub? We're looking at the Hollybush as a space where we're going to provide lots of things for the village. Yeah. And as we move forward, we know the government's aspirations to get more electric vehicles onto the roads. And we are going to need charge points. And of course, not everyone will have access to a charging point at home. Yeah. And there will also be people who just need to charge when they're traveling around throughout the day. Yeah. And there's two ways really that this could be approached. There is a possibility to purchase charging infrastructure with OLEV grants, put our own hub in, and then partner with an energy provider and a back office provider, someone who does all the data to invoice out residents. Or actually, having done a bit more work on this since we last spoke, there are actually charge point operators out there who would provide the equipment, all of the civils, and they would manage the infrastructure. They would, of course, take the lion's share of whatever income comes out of there. But there are two ways in which, as a village, we could benefit. So we could either charge them a rent for that piece of land, a yearly or monthly rent, or we could charge them a peppercorn rent and then take a percentage of whatever income comes from those charges. So it's just really to sort of get people's thoughts moving on that. And we talked about the risk of not having enough income from the Hollybush site. Well, maybe this could become another revenue stream.
Yeah. There's got a couple of things on, I mean, one of the things that we're going to be asking the Neighbourhood Plan Committee to do is to focus on this a lot, because we're going to need to make sure we get revenue off it. There are also car parking requirements for people off the village. You can go past there, there's vans parked and cars parked and goodness knows what. So we need to formalise that so we can get some money from it in that way as well. But if we're parking cars, then surely we want to have, electric charging points locally as well. And it fits in well if you're in a hub and people are calling past, they'll charge the car and go and have a cup of coffee while they're doing it. It sounds to me as that's the proper route of doing it. So I think we ought to explore that more, Adrian, and perhaps make contact with people, who would be able to do that for us. And, this is going to become available to us to do something with, within a couple of months.
Yeah, so, certainly, Peter, up until the 4th of January, I can help with that, and I can ask the SMMT EV working group for some contacts who may be interested in that. From the 4th of January, I am going to work for an EV infrastructure company, but that's working on heavy commercials and bus. So whether that's a conflict of interest, I don't know. Totally different parts of the business. So, but what I would do is, Peter, I'll ask for some contacts, and then we'll see if any of these people are willing to come and speak to us about what we can do at the next parish council meeting.
Yeah, I think that's a great thing, because not only is it for us, but when other councils in the moorlands hear what we're doing, then I think it will open up, because without this infrastructure, people just aren't going to get electric cars, are they?
No.
You know, it's simple as that. So the infrastructure has to come first, I'm afraid. It's no good having a car and then not being able to charge it. And I think there are other places on the village as well, not just there. You know, we've got the rocks, you know, big rocks across there, and then we've got across St Anne's Vale, that area across there. You could start thinking about putting infrastructure in there, because we're going to need quite a few, I would have thought. You know, it's happening. I mean, I can't buy it. You know, you can hardly buy a car now that isn't at least hybrid, which is a waste of time anyway. But that's another story.
But I'll make some contact to see who the best people are to talk to.
Yeah.
And then we'll try and get somebody set up to come and speak to us as a group.
Great. That's great. Thank you. Can't ask for any more than that. That's a good activity, that. Next thing is the Christmas activity organisation. Where are we with all that? So where do we want to start there, really? So people are putting lights up. I know that people who haven't had lights before seem to be putting lights up. So I think that's good. It's interesting. So that's happening. I think we've got some signs being done, as we mentioned earlier on, Rob. Yeah. So that's happening.
They're ordered, just waiting to be printed and collected. Yeah.
Lights are gone up in the village on the trees. I think Nigel's and the team were working on that.
Neil was doing
Neil,
it.
yeah.
Neil's the man.
Naomi, as he's called, otherwise known as.
On weekends, usually.
So that's happening.
What about the Santa sleigh? Did we get that organised or?
We're still waiting for Ed really to come back to us and let us know if he's got the sleigh. What we did say was that if the sleigh's not available, we'd convert one of the super odd trucks and get some music on the back. So one way or another, that will be happening week before Christmas.
Yeah, brilliant. Nice. Can you give Edwin a knock?
I'll ask him. Yeah, ever see him about tomorrow or the day after? I'll have a word with him.
I think he's said to Ked Bedson that basically, if the round table agree to do it, then the sleigh will be built and done. He says, but if not, then obviously it's in bits or something or other like that. So worst case scenario, we'll just, I've got a sleigh on the grass out here, so we'll use that and get that on the back of the truck. Yeah, just need a Santa if any volunteers.
Oh.
You can't do without a Santa.
No, definitely not.
Good on you, Neil. Well volunteered.
Too obvious. All right, no worries. Okay, so that's in charge. Sorry?
I was just going to say that, so obviously we put the post on Facebook about the lights competition, and there was quite a few nice comments and things on there. So I was going to do a follow-up on that and put some more. I asked Will whether he'd go around and take a couple of photos of some of the lights that are already up, because there's loads if you walk around. Loads of people some of them are quite wow. So I was going to put some on the Facebook page and just say, people are getting into it. Don't forget about the competition, just as a reminder. So,
yeah, we need a bit of that, bit of a rev up. It's good.
Yeah.
What about? Obviously, we've got the sponsors. What are you giving them a monetary value or vouchers or?
Yeah, you're supposed to know, Nige, because you're one of the sponsors.
That's just why I was asking. Yeah.
Yeah, it's £50 per category. There's 3 categories.
Yeah, it's not about bugs.
Yeah.
I mean, if they don't want, they can give the money to charity if they don't want it.
So what we thought of doing, my company's sponsoring one category, and then Holcraft Heating are sponsoring the other, and then you're sponsoring the other, Nige. And then it's £50 cash, and they can either keep the money or they can donate it to some recommended charities or charity of the choice, whatever.
Wonderful. Who's going to judge this anyway?
That'll be me and you then, Nige.
No. No, I can't do that and sponsor it as well, can I?
Oh, you can. I think you should.
As long as you don't give it your brother.
Yeah. Well, you know. Yeah, I suppose we can have a wander around. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, or if it makes it easy, we can sort of go around and take some pictures of the ones that you know, a short list, and then
We'll walk round. We'll get Tina and we'll go walk round.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's
Christmas.
going on until Boxing Day, so
Yeah.
there's lots of time.
Has anything happened about the 2 Christmas trees that
So-
were offered?
Yeah, so I've made contact with the people up Chapel Lane,
Yeah.
and I'm waiting for a trailer, to be honest with you. So, because you can't get in a car, it's too big. We've been to have a look at it. Well, I haven't been to have a look at it, but a couple on the parish, the village hall committee have looked at it. And we just need to get it on the trailer and get it planted. That's it. It's in the easiest place to get up there and back again with the trailer. So we want a little trailer to do it, really.
I've potentially got a flatbed truck if you want one.
That would be brilliant. That'd be brilliant. I'll be in touch with you then, Rob, and we'll organise for pick it up. And it's only got to be planted. It's got to be taken out of the pot and planted.
Oh, right, okay. I can't do Sunday. That's the only day I can't do.
Yeah, well, okay, just let me know and we'll sort that. Then the other one, which is the more interesting one, this is the one that's the supposedly, I've not looked at it, but it's supposedly 18 foot tall. And it wants cutting. They said you can cut it as high as you want to make it fit whatever size you want. So, which is fair enough. It didn't like one for dig up and plant. It's a proper Christmas tree. And this is what we were thinking about putting down the breach. So I had a word with Nigel, and we're going to go and have a look, see if we can extract it from the field. He's got the tools, and plant it in the ground outside Bucks. And so if we know we can do it, then we can go and ask Stephen if we can have his electric as well. So he ain't going to say no, I'm sure, but we'll have a word with him as soon as we know it's possible. That's what we need to do, isn't it? So Nigel's going up with me sometime this week, just find out how we can extract it. But it needs to be done, obviously, this weekend sometime, really. But it raises another issue, really. Now you think about that piece of ground where we're thinking of putting it, it would be an ideal place to have a permanent tree. You know, a proper tree that, you know, that grows type thing. And I'm not
But
yeah, it'd be handy, wouldn't it?
run that off Bucks as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, if he could make some money, he'd be in there, wouldn't he? Straight off. So it makes you wonder that where we need to start thinking about how much is a large tree to have it planted there properly and used in the future. Because I think that'd look really good coming in the village, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
You know, I think it's pretty tremendous. Denise, yeah.
If it's on a main road, we'll need to get the highways officer out to check. Might need to apply for it to be planted because the street, you know, like if it obstructs visibility or anything like that.
Yeah, we've planted hundreds on the village and nobody knows. It'll be another one of them.
I work for them, so don't worry.
Yeah. I think they work for you, Nigel, don't they?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
They do what Nigel tells them.
Oh, that's okay, great.
Yeah, so I mean, clearly you can't put it somewhere where it's going to be a danger, or you know, I mean but there's a great big lump of stone right next to it, so, you know, which is our sign that which we didn't ask permission for either, and it's in Emden. That's the other thing. But our district councillor and county councillors now are very different than before, so it's even easier for us now. So, but anyway, we need to look at see if we can do that next year. I think, and you know, I don't know how much it costs, whether we need to talk to Proc to find out how much a big tree would cost, or Nigel might be the bloke to ask how much a big tree is. But we need to find out and perhaps budget for it next year. Neil.
If I'm honest, I'm quite interested in not just doing one tree, but doing as many as we can get on these little bits of land we've got dodging around, because there's a lot going on with tree planting elsewhere, but not so much in our village.
Yeah.
And I know we've got the meadow coming off, but certainly like along the breach, and I know you just suggested like down the Vale, but the little bits of trees down there, just dodge them about in and around the village.
I think Joe Porter was trying to get trees planted as well in different places. I don't know whether he's got some money for it or...
Yes. Well, as you know, Linda's been planting trees all over the place. Sometimes she's been planted them and people have been ripping them out because they don't want them where she's put them.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bar's been selling them.
Did you see Country File on Sunday? And that's Planting Britain. And I think there might be some funding through that. That is a big scheme throughout this year. Yeah. So that could be worth tapping into.
Yeah, because they're looking at native species and that, aren't they?
That's it, yeah.
Yeah, well, I think we should be looking. I mean, we're talking just about Christmas things here, really, but on if you think about it, coming into the village on both sides, we ought to have a running Christmas tree. But the only thing is, on the other side, there's no electric to tap into at the other end. So it's something we need to think about, really. But for this time, all we need to do, we've got a tree, we've been offered a tree, and whether it's just, can we make it fit, really? It's that road, isn't it, really? Because else we might be offending them for not having it, if you see what I mean. So,
we'll go and have a look tomorrow.
Good man.
Have a look tomorrow.
Good man. We'll nip up,
Yeah.
Okay. What we're on the case. The Santa thing, we aren't going to announce that until closer to the time. But we are going to ask people to put plenty of Santas out for folks as well. So we're going to do the Santa for the kids closer to, we're not going to announce it too early, like a sort of week before. It'll be in the next month's Parish magazine, which will be out in 2 weeks' time, which is nearly up Christmas week, early before Christmas. What else? Anything else on the Christmas activities? I don't think there is there? No. Okay, next one is footpaths in the village. This is the definitive footpath with all the numbers of the footpaths on.
Sorry, Pete. I've got several copies of this. This one has got some markings on it of the green belt, and I think the red line is the white belt within the green belt within the village. But I have got some clean copies, which haven't got the pen on. But this one was the clearest one, so I just thought I would photocopy this one on this occasion.
So,
could you send me a copy of that, please? Sorry, Pete. Could you send me a copy of that, please, Denise?
Yeah, this was 1986, this map.
Yeah.
Before we were all born.
Could I have a copy as well, Denise? Please?
Yeah.
I'll send it out to all of us.
Peter, I think we've got I'm sure I've got a more up-to-date one of those.
Yeah.
When they were looking at the maps with John Bourne.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that we were issued with some
Yeah,
to
I
go and
remember.
walk them. And more up to date. If I can find it, I'll scan it and send it to people. But it is a bit clearer than that one.
Yeah.
This is not very good. And that's what that pen mark is. Can you see that on the corner of the where the sort of left hand bottom corner of the red piece, the red line, there's a circle.
Circle.
Yeah, and what that is, I think that's where John or somebody has put a circle around to try and identify where that footpath goes, because it doesn't go where they've got it marked on the new definitive map. The footpath actually goes, it used to go where the post is is up the steps at the side of the rocks from off St Anne's Vale. Top of Job's Pool, there's a set of steps up there that my great granddad built when he had the houses built at the top. Because because there used to be a road in. There wasn't a road up down there. It was just a footpath that people walked up. The road came past Jane's. Well, Jane's mum, sorry.
I don't know if you can, I don't know which way around my camera is, but I've actually got a map from 1876. Can you see that, or can you see me?
Can't see you, Rob.
Do you want me to stop share a second? Sorry, Rob.
Yeah.
That's me. Hang on. Yeah, this is one that we've got on a photo frame from 1876 with the village on. It's got all footpaths marked on that as well.
Yeah, but it's got footpaths, but they are the definitive footpaths. If you look at the definitive footpath, that map that we've just got here, this one, just that Denise has just been showing, there are plenty of footpaths on there that aren't definitive footpaths. For example, the one that most people will know from Honor Benton's house up to the top of Fiddler's Bank. That isn't a definitive footpath, but it's a footpath that everybody's used. Well, a lot of people have used. There's quite a few others. I mean, there's a footpath from down Woodhouse Lane across to Norton Green. There's actually a stile going up in the wall if you go down, but that isn't even on here. So there's plenty of others as well. If you look, there's plenty of footpaths that aren't marked.
Is it worth, I mean, obviously in the new year now, but there's one or two people that I know that, especially Ken Benson, etc., that walk the whole village constantly.
Yeah.
Is it worth doing sort of like a group meeting when we can to get some of this old information that's been out there and probably lost in the maps?
So there's two things going on here, Rob. First is we need to walk these maps, walk these paths. These are the definitive paths that the county council has to maintain. Okay, that's the law. They are county roads. It's exactly the same as a roadway. They have to maintain them. That's why they're definitive. But they don't want them on there. They don't want these damn things because it costs money.
Yeah.
Peter,
yeah.
I've started to do this.
Yeah, good.
I've walked pretty much all of them.
Yeah.
I've got lots of photographic evidence of what state they're in.
Yeah.
And that's the report that I've started to pull together. I don't know, Denise, did you get that screenshot that I sent you earlier?
Yeah, I did. Do you want me to try and find it?
Yeah, if you can, because that'll just show what I'm trying to do, Peter. Because it is.
Okay.
So I've got the ordnance survey maps which show every footpath.
Yeah.
So I don't know which ones are the definitive and which ones aren't. But my idea is to walk them all.
Yeah.
Because we don't know which ones will become vital links in the future, as we're talking about.
Yeah, well, that's a good point, that is, because there's a footpath here. One of the footpaths that I suspect that will be important for us is to get up from Stockton Brook up to Brown Edge one way or another.
Yeah, and it's in terrible condition if it's the one that I think you're thinking about.
Yeah.
The one that comes up past Moss Hill.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in a really bad state.
Yeah.
We took some cutting equipment up the last time we went and trimmed it back, but it's
so that actual footpath there is called King's Highway or the King's Road, and I found out last week why it was called that, and it's because when William the Conqueror, when there was trouble around here in when was it? 1086, the rebellion was, and Norton and Endon and Brown Edge, it was a Saxon village at that time, was trouble, and they were rebelling against him because they were Saxons against the Normans, and he actually walked on that road all the way down there. That was the route that they took when he came from Manchester down to Stoke, because he went to Stoke, not Newcastle. And that was the road, and that's why it's called the King's Road.
There's always trouble between Manchester and Stoke, Pete, always.
I can see why.
Yeah.
Okay,
So-
I've got this other document now. I'll see if I can share.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
So that road, anyway, that actually was the main road at one time.
Can you see that now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So it's not the easiest piece of work to do, Peter, but what I'm trying to do is do each section one by one.
Yeah.
And just put in there, you know, how they are. Are they suitable for walking or cycling? Is there any real benefit from turning them into cycle paths? But so the view is we've pretty much walked and done everything between here, Congleton Edge. We haven't done so much over in Bagnall, but we've certainly done a lot around Stockton Brook and then out towards Rudyard. So I'm going to try and document everything we've done over the next 2 or 3 weeks so that we've got something that we can present back in bite-sized chunks.
Okay.
Very good.
Good.
You've been enjoying the walking as well, of course.
That's good.
All right, then, so we're on the case. So anyway, the point is, you know, that's sort of happening almost by default, isn't it? But the main thing is to make sure that the definitive routes are open, and then perhaps we could look at getting some others defined. Now is the time to do it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know whether it's because of the weather conditions, but some of them are in terrible condition.
Yeah. I think there's all sorts of reasons. I think one is that people don't know whose responsibility it is to maintain them, you know, and that needs defining, and that the county don't do it anymore because they haven't got the money, supposedly. So there's all that kind of stuff going on, and I think people are using them more, in which case they get trodden down, don't they?
Definitely. The one across the bottom, the feeder from Knipersley that comes across to the bottom of the old miners trail.
Yeah.
That is unwalkable, but that is due to the sheer amount of traffic that's had over the last few months.
Exactly right. Yeah.
So, and the problem is that if they're not maintained, even because of the sheer weight of traffic, then people start to wander off the path into the farmers' fields. The farmer gets very upset and everybody gets really agitated. So
that's right.
I'll hopefully have something done within a month for our local area.
So we'll leave that on the table until next month then and see where we are, yeah?
Yeah, well, hopefully I'll have a detailed set of maps back to you with comments, and then we can take it from there.
Okay, excellent.
Can we still have the maps that we've been discussing? So
need to. Yeah.
Jane, do you want the ordnance survey ones as well with all the maps, all the footpaths on?
Well, that's on the county council website, isn't it? I've looked at that, so I'll have a copy and I can print it off, as well.
By the way, this is in your pack. Now, if you want that, just go on the website and download it.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's that. So move on to next item 10 then. Making good progress with that, so thank you for that, Adrian. Really appreciate that. Item 10 then is finance and government authorisation of payments. We've got anybody, if you all looked at them in the pack of the website, any documents? Can we have somebody to move them, please? Sarah moved them, seconded by Jane. We're all in favour that they're paid? Yep. Okay, thank you. Next item is the cemetery recorder reports. We've all seen a copy of that. Have you got anything to report on that? Apart from there's been quite a few increase in revenue, which is a nice way to put it. So we've had one. Okay, so a lot of activity. I'll just leave it like that,
Sorry.
Okay. All right. So that's just for information. There's nothing to report on that really, apart from everything's happening as it should do. Just while we're on the cemetery, just need to bring to people's attention, because we probably haven't spotted it. A tree fell down, missed the graves. The cemetery recorder rang Nigel up, and Nigel's cut it up and removed it. Okay, just for reference, but it's damaged the fence. It wasn't our tree, it was a neighbour's tree. So I think now's the time, well, when we can meet. We can't meet him yet, Master, but as soon as we can meet with him, we need to meet with him and have a look at the trees and, you know, make that happen again, cutting the trees back, because they're his trees that are causing this damage. So he's asked to meet with us, but of course we can't because of the, you know, because of the COVID thing, although we will be able to meet outdoors if we move down to level 2. Next on there is review of cemetery fees. Now these are what Denise put up earlier, are our current fees.
This is 2017, and then I've got 2019.
Yeah.
John's advised me that the council in the past have done it every 2 years. So I don't know if you can see the difference. The first one, purchase of grave, was 180 in 2017, and you put it up to 200. Interment was 120, up to 130. Shame I can't show both on screen at the same time.
Yeah.
So basically, there's a small increase on all the fees. And this is where we're at the moment. So this 2019 is where you're at the moment.
Did we, when we spoke about this last year, did we not say we were quite, I wouldn't want to use we're cheap, but we were good value compared to quite a lot of the graveyards comparison in the area? Well,
I've actually gone and got printed the, what you can see, I've printed the fees and charges off for the Crown. And there were some very, very revealing bits of information here. First of all, the right of burial lease is just for 30 years down the Crown. So after 30 years, you can dig your grave and put, you know, use it again. So your grave that you've got can be dug and used for reinterments, for new, fresh burials. Which I find
that's awful,
unbelievably disgusting, to be honest with you. But I'm told by somebody in the know, Alan Sheldon, that that's you know, there's places where it's doing it in 20 years. So, and for that purchase of that grave, the right of burial, so it's the purchase of the grave, is, if you're a city resident, okay, it comes out at 1,290. Okay,
that's local, yeah.
That's for the resident. Okay, and for us, that's £200. For a non-city resident, it's 3,870. So if anybody from Brown Edge wanted to go down to the Cren, it's 3,870. We are 400. Okay. If you want to repurchase your grave, because you've got an expired lease, so in other words, after 30 years, that's going to cost £240 down the Cren just for that, just to repurchase it. So in the lifetime of 100 years, which is what ours is, 99 years, you'd have to pay for £250 pound charges out just for that, to renew it for the same as us. So down the Cren, you're talking £1,000 just simply to have that for 90 years. And we charge 200. So for the equivalent, theirs would be 2,290, and ours would be 200. That's the equivalent. So the other thing is for interment to a depth of 6 foot. We don't do 6 foot, we do 7'6". But anyway, depth of 6 foot. is for £940, and we charge £130. For non-residents, it's 2,820. So to purchase your grave and to bury, if you're not a city resident, it's 6,600 and something, 90, 6,690, 6,690. That's without any additional fees, and there are plenty of additional fees that we don't even think about charging. And we would be charging 430 for that, and it's just unbelievable. Oversized coffins, which we don't think about, but we have had an oversized coffin, which has cost us 2 burial spaces. They charge an extra 50%.
Okay, we're going to have a new cemetery. Obviously, it's going to cost a lot more money to do that, and we're very low at this. How can we? We've got to put his prices up. Yeah, that just, it's there. How can we look to forecast it to implement these charges over a period to get to where we need to be?
Yeah, that's what we've got to do, Nigel.
Yeah. We know where we've got to get to. We've got to find out where sensibly, because obviously it's for the locals. Realistically, we don't want to be charging the same as the Creme, I'm sure, but
yeah, but my point about the Creme is we don't want to be charging the same, but for their non-city residents, for us going down there, they have this massive charge. I mean, that's a fortune.
Yeah, and if we're not careful, we're going to get them coming up here like we have done, haven't we?
Yeah. Even without our whatever charges that there are, we're still cheaper than the Creme.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what we've always said all along, that the fees for out area should be in line with the Creme, so that it doesn't encourage people to come up here.
What are the prices like such as Endon and Bagnall and that type of thing? Do we know those?
Don't know.
No.
Can I suggest that we probably pick, obviously the Creme is obviously the most expensive, shall we say, but we pick like for like, we pick the Creme and another one, put a proposal together for the next 4 or 5 years that it'll have to be done in a working party, I suppose, and postpone this decision tonight. But if we give sort of option A, option B, option C to the council to vote on then, but with a comparison of how we compare to Biddulph Moor, Biddulph, the Creme, and where else.
What do we know what leak is? That's because they've got one on the Buxton Road now, haven't they?
They have, yeah.
They're enlarging that one and doing different things. That would be a good comparison to see with us being within the moorlands.
Yeah.
That's a good comparison one.
Yeah, I think I can see your point, Rob, but we're closest to the city, so I think Biddulph Moor and places like that won't have the same issues as we will.
Yeah.
I just think rather than just add £20 on each one, that's sort of logical for us. It needs a little bit more in-depth knowledge of comparisons and whatever, and then bringing 3 proposals forward for us to vote on. Then,
yeah, I think probably for myself, I don't know whether Nigel's proposing or just suggesting at the moment, but we probably do need to look at raising it yearly till we're in line.
I think that's the most common sense for me. I think I think 5 years is probably about the right way to do it. But we want to be saying we're mirroring in 5 years' time. We're mirroring the same charges as the CRAM, or just under, or whatever, but similar.
Yeah,
Of that order. And so, what does that mean in 5 years' time? Although their prices are going to be going up, no doubt, we need to keep an eye on that. But we need to be 10%, 20%, 30% closer, or whatever it is, as we go along.
Yeah.
And I think that's
from an income point of view. I mean, I appreciate we're talking about burials here, but it is a good income stream for the parish anyway, year on year. So any increase in that then would severely help the budgets out and everything else, increase the spend in the village. So the increases are justified in the village because it's been spent on the village.
Yeah, I think the logic's always been that the land was paid for out of the parishioners as well. So when we've bought the lands, the parishioners are already paid for it out of the precepts. So it's always been to keep it low cost for the parishioners. But obviously we'll have to look at it because it definitely does need raising.
So is it the view to bring all fees in line with the cemetery, so for residents and for people from outside of the parish?
Well, I don't know. I mean, we haven't made a mind up, but we actually do that now. If you know, see, it's double for non-parishioners with local connections. That's straightforward, but tenfold fees for outsiders. So, now if you put tenfold on that, it still doesn't come up to what the district council are charging. Sorry, what the CRAM are charging.
Do you consider tenfold on that to be fair, though? Anybody?
Or increase that?
Because if you deem it to be unfair, then there's a problem. If you deem it to be fair, then there isn't. I personally think it's a fair amount.
I think we need a working party.
How it's not go up, but
the worry is that we get a huge influx of external graves that potentially would flood would fill the cemetery up.
That's the worry. But what are the facts behind that? Have we had an influx?
In the past, Neil, the answer to that is yes, in the past, and that's why we put it up to 10 times. At one time, it used to be double fees. Then we went up to 10 times just to stop it completely, which it did.
What I'm saying is now you've said those numbers for the CRAM.
Yeah.
And I don't see ours overflowing. I don't see people flocking up from down Stoke to fill ours up because we're considerably cheaper. So I don't see as there's that problem. And just because they could potentially do it doesn't mean that anybody has.
Yeah,
I think them are fair prices.
What, £200 for burial?
I've got.
Yeah, I think it's fair, and there's a lot to be said for fairness. And
well, I don't think it's fair.
It's immaterial what other people are doing and how much they're getting and what they're doing. Nothing to do with this. What you've got to look at is that right there, right in front of it. And yeah, you can make a great deal of money by signing more and all the rest of it. Great, but you've got to look at how fair that is, and those are fair prices.
By fair, who are you being fair to? You're being fair to. You're
being fair to the people that's going in the hole. You're being fair to the people that are putting people in the hole. You're being fair to the people that have paid taxes towards the ground in the past. You're being fair to people that want to come up and bury the dead up here because it's cheaper than elsewhere, and maybe they can't afford to bury them down there because they haven't got that money. You're being fair.
But I think in the past we had a situation where funeral directors were telling people in Stoke that it was cheaper, and I think that's why we had to put them up like we did.
I do believe we've got to put them up, Neil, in a way to look to the new burial ground as well. And that's why I'm proposing to have a look at other fees so that it's fair all round, fair to the council of building the new cemetery, keeping it up to date, and having it what they want at being a fair price. I don't think we're looking to go to make money out of this. We need to be fair in a way that we're forecasting where it goes to. Now, I've got Staffordshire Moorlands District Council cemetery charges here. New grave at time of burial is £700, and anybody out of the area is double. So there's a lot of difference between Staffordshire Moorlands and the Crem. So I think if we could get an average and have a look where people are at the prices, and then we can forecast of what we need to be fair in 5 years' time.
So when we talk about this fairness thing, what we've got to do is we've got to think about how much is it going to cost to provide a new cemetery, because the parishioners have got to pay for that as well.
Yeah.
Well, that ground was purchased and all that was agreed based on these prices, what you've already got. Wasn't based on other people's prices, wasn't based on putting anything up. You bought that ground and develop, and and the ideas to develop that were based on these numbers. So that's already.
What was? Sorry, Neil, what was?
The development of that ground.
You mean the cemetery as it is now?
Yeah, was based upon these. No,
it wasn't.
So you base that on prices that don't exist.
Yeah, there wasn't any prices when we did it. There wasn't another parish council doing the cemetery.
What I'm saying is, if you're basing what's got to be done on numbers that don't exist and have never existed, how are you doing that? Surely you based what's got to be done on the new cemetery on what's already coming in, which is this.
So how we? Again, I'm just confused here. So how it was paid for originally was we used to pay for the lighting on the village, and then the county council took that on, and we kept the rate at the same time as a penny rate. And it stayed on for 12 years. And in 12 years, we had enough money then to, we didn't have to pay full price for it. We got it compulsory purchase the field from Clusey. We had to pay, what do you call it? Some kind of, I can't remember, some kind of superannuation or something to the farmer who had it, which was your granddad. Yeah, and no, your great granddad, wasn't it? Anyway, that's how it was purchased in the first place. And then what they did is we worked out how much it was going to cost to maintain, and then we came up with a price. That's how we did it in the first place.
Yeah,
the difficulty is
as you're looking at developing it into what it's got to be.
The new site. Right, beg your pardon. Right. So the new site, we need to know how much is that going to cost us, don't we?
Yeah, but you've obviously already
based
we didn't. That on the numbers that we've got.
We didn't, Neil. What we did was we purchased the land because we didn't know how long we got left in the old cemetery. So since when we come to do this, the development of it, well, obviously the parishioners will be paying a percentage of the precept to develop this.
Yeah.
Additionally, you have got the running costs that have increased on the current graveyard that comes also off the precept. So, I mean, gas prices have quadrupled in the past 4 or 5 years just by looking at the precept going backwards. So we have to increase the prices to a certain degree just to cover the basics of the maintenance costs.
Well, you've also got repairs as well, haven't we? Because
correct.
over the last 6 years, we spent a lot of money on the cemetery, getting it back to where it should have been, because previously we hadn't spent any money on it to maintain it at all.
So we're almost missing a revenue stream to keep it a good graveyard at the end of the day. I mean, if you increase the prices by £50, there's still fair prices, but all the costs are going up. So the parishioners are sort of financing at the minute the extra cost of maintenance. So, which is why we need to bring it into line with other prices or under other prices. I'm not saying directly in line, but we need to bring it within sort of 10-15% of what other people are charging, because that is the fair price. That's what the market is offering.
Yeah, but could I ask a question? Is the creme an exception rather than the rule? Because ultimately there are so many people now that I've spoken to recently who can't afford to bury someone at the creme because it is so expensive. And I quite like the idea of Nigel's of looking at what else happens in the moorlands and maybe even further out, because what you've got to pitch this against, and it's understandable that it needs to go up and those fees need to go up, but I kind of think I agree with Neil in that when they do rise, they need to be fair whilst covering what we need to cover moving forward in the future. But, you know, the creme is certainly, when you're talking £3,000 to £6,000, that really is out of some people's reach in terms of being able to bury people.
It's disgraceful.
And you're hearing more and more now that people are having to keep the remains of their loved ones at the bottom of a garden or under their favourite tree, or maybe even behind the refuse bins at the back of the garden, because it's just not affordable. So I think there needs to be some caution there as just how far we go.
Yeah, if you want to more expensive, just look at Newcastle.
Yeah,
they're absolutely unbelievable. They are.
I think obviously the logic originally was that Brownedge Parish parishioners already pay to maintain and keep that, and that's why they were.
Yeah.
I won't say reaping the benefit, because if you're dead, you're not reaping the benefit, but the relatives are reaping the benefit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we need to go away. I think we need a working group basically just to assess what other councils and other parishes are doing properly, and then if we come back and we're within 30% of those, then we can make a vote on that. But I think we need to, if we don't look at it now, we've missed another 12 months and another 12 months where it's going to be huge increases just to keep the maintenance afloat, let alone just the what goes in there, because maintenance is rising. When we did the precept the other day, maintenance costs of the gas, the electric, and obviously the vegetation, everything else, nothing comes down in value, everything goes up in value.
And I think with the working party, we need to keep up to date with what the changing times are of burials. If you actually look, I'm sorry, but I've been looking at the other screen here, and they're doing woodland burials and the like, and people are changing their idea of burials.
So, and what the graveyard looks like, yeah.
The actual look of it, you know what I mean? The whole scheme is changing. So, is it something we need to be looking at in the future? If we are, do we need to plan ahead for that and forecast, you know, the rises to what we're going to do? So there's a bit of work to be done, I think.
I think the rises aren't there to make money. I mean,
if
we increase it £100, it's not there to put in the rest of the pot. It's there to keep the graveyard functioning, available, and looking good. To be fair,
yeah.
And I don't currently think the prices that we offer allow us to do anything other than the bare bones of what we're doing currently.
Yeah.
Good choice of word, Rob.
Say again.
Choice of word.
And a good maintenance contractor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So just you give some example. You've also got deterioration on there, which you don't take account of. The wall at the front, as you'll see in a minute or two, needs rebuilding. Where's
nothing in the precept?
Nothing in the precept for it.
Nothing.
You know, Bricky.
Never heard of one. I don't know.
A good one.
That's more difficult, that, Rob, isn't it? Well, that's
So, I don't mind either being on the working group or heading it up or whatever, but I do think that's the way. That's what I propose, is that we have a working group and it reports back in 2 months' time or whatever.
Yeah, I think there's two things here. First off is we've got the budget here. This is part of the budget process. So we've got to know what we're going to be charging before we can do the budget. So I think you're right, Rob. I think we need to look at all these sites, find out what everybody else is charging, so that we understand that. And it doesn't mean to say we have to copy that. In fact, I think I'd be appalled if we tried to do that, because, you know, people have paid by the precept. I know they've done for everybody everywhere else, but we shouldn't be making money out of the debt. I don't think that's our approach. What we shouldn't be doing is making so that people are paying out of the precept to maintain it. I think there's any need for that. And we've also got to think, how much is it going to cost us for the new cemetery? I think we're going to be talking 100 grand to develop that. Where's that money coming from?
Minimum, yeah.
So, you know, and we've got to start doing that now as well. You know, we've got to start thinking about, spending at least 5 grand top of my head to get it through planning. So, you know, we need to do that. We haven't even got planning permission for it. If they don't give us planning, and I can tell you now, it's not a straightforward thing to get planning, as Nigel and myself know. So you don't just give you planning for nothing, especially in the green belt, which is where that is. So we need to be making sure we've got outline planning permission on that site, or else, you know, if we don't, then we'd have to try and find another location.
But given the circumstances which you looked at earlier in the year, Peter, you did say the likelihood is that they would give that.
Absolutely right, yeah, absolutely. I think that's fair to say that, but you know, that's by no means.
We have got and Linda did the report for the ground as well. Yeah. So we have got that. But before we can do anything, we've got probably 30 to 40 grand, which obviously we've been putting aside. We've already been doing that over the years for the to put in the fencing between.
Yeah, we've been putting money aside, Jane, but actually we haven't been. We've been taking money out the pot for this last few years.
Yes, that's right. But there is still a substantial amount in there that has obviously been put on as earmarked for that job.
Yeah. So I think there's what we're saying really here, if I'm just picking up the vibe, what we're saying is, we've got to look at this as a whole subject matter, not just a little thing, as to how does this impact the revenue and the future for the other site, ties into that. We've got to do some work to find out what other people charge. Not that we have to do exactly what they do, but I think we need to do that to understand where we are. And I think we said we're going to have a working party to come up with that. But what I'll say to you is that isn't, and I agree with that, that needs to be done. But I think we've got to take a stab and say, how much do you think we're going to increase this by? Because we need to know that for your budget next month.
Yeah, I get that. Mm-hmm.
You know? We don't know how much revenue is going to come from it because we don't know how many people are going to die. Sorry, Peter. We don't know how many people are going to die. We don't know what revenue there is, but...
Can we look at what revenues come off it in the last 12 months? It doesn't have to be financial year, does it?
No.
And then what our running costs have been for the 12 months.
Yeah.
For that same period. So that at least we've got something to be going on when we come next meeting.
Yeah. Well, the next meeting we've got to have the budget finalised. The next meeting, so it's got no choice about that. So we've got a bit of work to do, which we'll talk about in a minute or two before now and the next meeting.
Well, I mean, I think that it's got to be increased by a percentage across the board. So it's what percentage we're stuck. For time-wise, we're stuck this year, but obviously we can prepare this very quickly.
Yeah, I agree, Rob. I think we're going to have to say, all right, let's put it up 10% this year, and then we'll carry on, we'll do all our work, and carry on and find out roughly where we are, and over the next 5 years we need to move it to that, or a 1% increase per year or whatever it is. Then we'll know, won't we, what we need to be doing.
I mean, if we did 10%, 12%, 15% this year, and we deem that is too much, then next year we don't have to rise it at all, do we? But the one thing we can be sure on is that the expenditure on the graveyard is going to go up in the next few years.
So on a burial for a resident, what you're talking about is an extra 20 quid.
Yeah, for 10%. Yeah,
10%, which is absolutely, as you've seen, we're talking about thousands of other people are charging extra.
So I mean, yeah, my proposal would be more than 10%, will be 15%, to be fair.
Yeah, well, I've not made a proposal, so
Yeah,
so
just put that up. That's actually what you've spent. So payments this year, you've spent 2,422 on the cemetery, and it was budgeted for 2,375.
Yeah.
So there's just a variance of £48.
And we haven't finished yet this year.
Yeah.
So one of the things we're going to have to watch there, just looking at that, we've got grounds maintenance. Okay, there. Does that include the cemetery grounds maintenance or not? I don't know.
I think it used to split 60-40, John did, between 60% for the village, 40% for the graveyard.
So we've got to look and decide what that is.
That was one of the things that we talked about at the meeting that we had at the working party. At the moment, it isn't split on this new scribe.
Yeah, well, we need to have it split, those two things, I think.
Okay.
Cemetery, because we want to be able to see that we are covering our costs of the cemetery, don't we? It's almost like a sub-account, the cemetery, as it ought to be.
Yeah. I'm going to propose that, well, there is works to be done on the cemetery in the next 12 months.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, is 10% enough?
No, I don't think it is.
I'm thinking at least 15%, which will cover costs. Is that enough? There is works to be done on there. There's drainage. At some point, we've kind of got to look at the tarmac car park on there once it's surfacing.
Yeah.
So the wall on the front needs to be done. It could go on and on and on. It's becoming an old cemetery, believe it or not, that needs.
Yeah. Well, it's 40 years old.
Yeah, so it's substantial work, and it's not just putting a bit of grass down. It's there's going to be a lot of work, a lot of money needed to be spent on that one. So I propose probably in between 15 to 20% this year, and then we decide where we go with the budget, and we forecast in all the costs that we need to do to maintain the one that we've got and the one that we're going to have within this, when we can work on that within this next 12 months.
Yeah, I would back it 20%. Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, a proposal is between 15 and 20%. That's what I'm proposing. Now, it's up to the council what their thoughts are there on that one.
Anybody else got any views?
I think that's a bit excessive in 1 year.
Yeah,
I do.
I do.
I'm a bit jumpy over 20% in 1 year.
In realistic terms, though, 15% is 20. Was it £30?
Yeah.
For a parishioner.
Yeah.
But £30 isn't going to solve half of those issues. What you just mentioned, Nigel, that's the issue. Not at the
We
rate.
spent a hell of a lot of money, not last year, the year before, huge amount of money the year before. Which if all the trees out, we spent a hell of a lot of money.
But there's going to be more to be spent.
We just vote on it and do. I just feel a little bit cautious on 20%.
I think I mean, Nigel mentioned this thing about the car park, the tarmac paths. I spoke to Phil about it a couple of times. He keeps, every time I go in, Phil says, you need to get this done, you need to get this done, or else you're going to have it tarmacked. It needs dressing, or else you're going to have it tarmacked.
Yeah, I do agree with that one. Yeah.
And that's been probably 4 or 5 years he's said that to me.
And the thing is, Jane, that's going to be more than...
and you got it tarmacked, you can charge the school to park on it, because there seems to be a parking issue up there. Rent it to them in the morning.
They park on it anyway.
We open it up just to alleviate the pressure on the residents for the school.
Yeah, the school won't pay.
Oh.
We won't pay.
Is that a proposal?
You need to propose an exact amount, though. I don't think you can back 15 to 20%. It's got to be an exact amount.
Okay, I'll propose 20%.
I will second the 20%. Yeah.
Okay. And are there any other proposals or amendments to that? I should say it's an amendment, really.
Can you amend it if that goes through? It's froze. This is an increase, and then it's froze for X amount of years.
I don't see you can do that, Neil, because we literally just stabbing in the dark this year. Really, we don't know the. I mean,
we're plucking a number out of the air now, based on nothing. So why can't we freeze it based on the same facts?
No, we're not basing it on nothing. We're basing it on the fact that we've already spent the precepts already this year for the maintenance on the graveyard without the considerable works that have got to go forward.
So,
but we don't know what's going to come up.
So, Neil, the answer to that is yes, you can propose that.
Right.
Okay, that's an amendment. That's an amendment.
I'd personally feel more comfortable with that. If we were going to give this 20% increase, fine, okay, it's one hit. Well, then it's froze for at least 2 years.
Okay, so
and that's a number I've plucked out of the air. 2 years.
Okay. All right, so let's say 2 years then, and then see if anybody else wants to amend that. We take the amendment first, then. That's how you do this. Take the amendment first. Have we got a seconder for that amendment to freeze it for 2 years? Okay. So there's no seconder for that, then that falls. So we're back to the original proposal, and that's to increase the price by 20%. It's been proposed and seconded. Can we have a vote for that, please? All those in favour of that, please show. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Those against, please show. Okay. Oh, we got one there. Okay, Jane, what votes against that? Okay, so that's 4 to 1 then. That we increase by 20%. Okay, so that's that. But well, I think we'll make sure that that's on the agenda for next
August.
Well, I think we'll put it on the agenda for next month, Denise, so that we can get a working party to look at this properly. Because I think the difficulty is we don't actually know, do we? We don't actually know what the costs of the cemetery are. That's the truth of the matter, and we certainly haven't got a clue of how much it's going to be in the future.
Yeah, and I think it needs its own meeting because we've got we're just pulling figures out of the air.
Yeah, we need to be able to account for it properly so that we know where we stand. And I don't think we do. We've got a chance now. We've got the new scribe system. To be honest with you, we should be able to apportion that properly you know, and we can actually, you know, when we go out and do the quotation in the future, we can, to the contractor, we can separate it out anyway. So you got a vet cemetery and the rest of the maintenance, so we know where we are. Okay, so we're going to increase it by 20% then. So next item then, financial statement projects or projections should be for the budget, or projects for the budget, shall I say? That's what that is.
Pete, this is the actual financial statement where we're at to date.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, okay. So we're supposed to have one of these every quarter, aren't we?
You can have one every month if you want. This is just generated.
Well, yeah, we need one every quarter. So, I mean, we can have one every month, but we don't need to, but we're supposed to have one every quarter. So this is quite an easy thing to do now, to provide us with the, you know, where we stand. Now, Denise is getting all the accounts and the statements sent to her, be able to keep track of where we are.
So budget-wise, I've spoken to John. I've found John's old budget from last year, and I've compared it with the budget that's been created on Scribe. Scribe hasn't got quite as much information, so I know Jane would prefer it to have more information, wouldn't you, Jane? Like the old one.
I think Denise, it's only because the breakdown isn't as much as what we got before. So while we have the transition period, I need to look at it and focus one to the other to see where they're going in that pot.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I just need to see where we're allocating them to. You can set Scribe up after to whichever way it works, but obviously for how it is now, when we've looked at the budgets, they're separated out into different categories. So what
I thought, I would try and create one exactly the same as what John did last year. So I'll do that for the next meeting.
So to me, I'm not that fussed about one way or another, but Jane's right. As a group, we need to know what we're spending the money on. Whereas Scribe is looking to do the sums for that money. Well, this is a different thing. For a budget, we need to know and approve that we are going to spend £700, £1,000, £10,000, whatever it is, on certain subjects, and then they get put into the accounts under whatever categories they are. But we need to agree that we're going to fund certain things. Or else we're not going to, you know, or else it's going to be like, oh yeah, we got £20,000. What can we spend the money on? Which is the wrong way. It's how most councils work, but that's not the right way. We should be saying we need that money to, if we're going to increase the precept or decrease the precept or whatever it is, we need to be able to give a reason why, not just, oh, it's gone up by 10%, which is what we're doing with the cemetery, which is the wrong way of doing it. So we've already said we're going to be spending money on certain things that were already in the what do you call it, in the tracking sheet. So they need to be, certainly we need to be making sure that they're in the budget.
Just quickly, this is last year's budget. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is what John prepared last year.
There you go. Okay. Okay. Right, so we're not doing this tonight, but I think the main point is that we've just got to make sure that the projects that we've said we're going to be doing, we've got funds available in a budgeted fund for. Simple as that. And I think that's what Jane's saying, really. You know, she's saying we need the list of the things so that we can make sure that Scribe's got the right information in there. Or else you're just putting figures in for nothing. Is that your take, Jane, as well? Is that what you're saying?
I think when we looked, when we looked at Scribe, how it's worded, it's so to say. I suppose you can have it worded however you want and break down however you want. It's just that obviously we've worked with John's breakdown for such a long time, so we know that the money for that is in that column. The money for that, it seems to be very bunched. So it's got a job lot in there and a job lot in there. I for the first time that we're doing this, I just need to understand and get my head around what's in that clump and what's in that clump, because obviously, we know that it can be moved about, but obviously we need to know what's in where.
Yeah, I think there was a few categories from John's that have now been sort of superseded and needed reworking as well. So it's difficult to say what needed reworking and what needed keeping. I mean, like the litter pick, there's a budget there for a litter picker, which potentially we're not going to be using over the next 12 months, but it can be allocated to the Lensman projects or whatever. So I think, that's where we sort of ended the meeting, was the fact that we needed some like for like comparison, then we could bunch them together and move stuff around to suit the new way of doing things.
Yeah. So what I'm thinking here is councillors should be putting in a wish list, if that's the best way of describing it, of the things that we've said that we're going to be spending money, or any other things that we think, and putting them into Jane or Denise, saying this is what we've agreed, this is what we should be spending, and then the working party looks at that and say, yeah, that's a bit of a strange thing, that is. Why are we doing that? We need to have some kind of filtering system there. But we need to be putting down exactly the things that we've already approved, like this. We've got £1,000 for the meadow. We actually haven't put a budget for that anywhere.
Potentially there is budgets there for projects. There is project budgets, and there are sort of a little bit less direct headers with money pots in there that you can say it fits within that category.
Yeah. So where's the funding, the money for the sign? The speed sign. I mean, I've not looked at it. I mean,
I know it. There is like a project. I can't remember exactly the title on it, but there is various titles on there that says about projects and about Lensman scheme and bits and bobs that sort of cover all those aspects of projects as and when they arise.
Yeah, I'm okay with having a slush fund, because that's what that is. But my point is, as a council, we've got to agree that these are the projects that we want to spend money on. We've never done that in the past. And we need to. It's the law. We have to. You can't just decide to spend money on anything. We have to do that. And if we've already passed those things, then we have to make sure that they're in this year's budget. If we haven't spent it for this year, then we've got to make sure that they're in next year's budget. That's all. And that's what Jane's on about. That's exactly what John would do.
It's like, I suppose it's just a different way of working. Yeah. But going off that way, and I need to compare the two, because the percentage has gone up a hell of a lot. Yeah. And we haven't delved into it. We've never done a precept where we've increased more than probably 3.5% on the 25 years that I've been on. Yeah. This is coming out very heavily weighted on that precept going up. So I just need to get my head around it a lot more than what I have done on that one meeting.
Blimey. Well, we don't want to be doing that.
No, and that was me. We just cannot do that. We can't just raise precepts and like that. We've got to find it from other ways of doing it, and that's how we've always robbed Peter to pay Paul, haven't we?
I think we needed this document that's in front of us now, because there was allocations that were expenditure that wasn't potentially put on the precepts in the first place. So because we've identified those as well, there was a high percentage of items that have been spent that wasn't on the scribe. So that's why we needed this document. All that we had was an end figure. So we went through it with what we thought was the new way of doing things, or the new scribe way, And then when we matched the two figures together, there was obviously a significant increase. But
Yeah,
there was
right,
things that we identified that weren't on the it weren't in the book, because we were at the end, they were comparing against the book, weren't we? But there was things that were being spent that weren't necessarily on the precept in previous years, which is why there's such a big increase.
Okay.
So it's not that we've gone through everything and added 100%. It's a case of we've gone through everything, looked at the value of the increase over a 12-month period, but also identified things that were also missing out of the original precept that amount to a few £1,000s, to be fair.
Well, we should have quite a bit, because we've had 10 grand given to us for the blooming cemetery, and it's only cost us 4.
Yeah.
And I think that's where I couldn't, normally, because I've got the figures side by side, I can see what's come in, gone out, and where we covered. You haven't got that on Scribe. You have got literally what's there, and I definitely need. Obviously,
we need a line thing like this. You need a line thing like that, so you know.
There was an anomaly line for the carnival. The carnival committee get a fund from the carnival committee or the Wells committee or whatever it is, get us a fund from the parish, but that wasn't noted on any of the precepts.
It's in it's in where they put the £1,000 grant. That's where it comes out.
So that's what we couldn't add up, and that's why we ended the meeting, was because it literally didn't justify itself. Yeah. So at the next meeting now, we've got the information we need off John to sort of finish that off now.
So the key thing though is to when we come back, because what worries me out, I mean, that's why I'm with Janie a bit. When we come back, I know Scribe only needs the big totals, but we have got to have the small information, the detailed information of where we're spending the money.
I think Denise says it. I don't think it was done before you sort of got hold of it, wasn't it? The headings.
Yeah, but we can add headings. It's quite easy to add headings in, and I can go back into the money that's already been logged into Scribe and reallocate it to different. It's quite easy to do that. It's very good. But I'm going to suggest that I produce a mirror copy of what John's done for the next meeting.
Yeah,
I think that's going to be the easiest and clearest way.
I think it breaks it down for us to look at it quickly within a meeting, easier than seeing what's inscribed. I think Scribe's very good, and I think you've done a very good job of it.
It's just not there.
If you want to take it to a meeting, how we do and agree the precepts and everything else, we couldn't get by with Scribe doing it. We'd be there all night explaining everything.
Yeah.
And then I think if I do this old paper copy way, I think by next year we will have got these titles right within Scribe. And then it'll be working.
It's not that Scribe's failing; it's that Scribe isn't currently set up to how we want it to be set up. Scribe's probably a better way of doing it for information going forward.
I think directly it is. Obviously we need to transition over so that we can understand it.
The main point, the overall point about this is that at the next meeting, January, we have got till February, I understand that, but it's like last chance saloon, that is, February. Okay, somebody's picking something up somewhere, but we need, somebody's got some speaker on somewhere. But anyway, the main point here is that we need to have this ready for the January meeting, unless we have a separate meeting to discuss it later on.
I think potentially, with Christmas getting in between now, I think potentially we might need an extraordinary meeting in January an additional meeting in January to discuss, just as a budget meeting, because there is a hell of a lot to go to add it into the normal agenda. I think it's going to go way past the 10 o'clock curfew or whatever. So I do think it needs to be a separate meeting anyway.
Okay. So especially we need to be prepared for that.
With the increase that we've currently got, I think there's going to be a lot of talking points along the way with it. So personally speaking, I think it needs to be a separate meeting.
Okay.
And obviously if in between now and then people are putting in funding requests for projects, that could be even potentially more. So we do need to look where what we've done has gone off the sheet and stuff coming on.
Yeah, okay. All right then, so what we'll do is we'll carry on. Is really what we need doing here? We're carrying on and, you know, completing the budget. And meeting next month for, I don't know, whatever. We'll see where we are next month, and then if we have to have another meeting, we'll have to have another meeting. I think that's the summary there, isn't it? So next thing is correspondence. Letter from Sybil Ralphs to support the Stoke to Leek railway line feasibility study. So I received the letter and she wanted a response the next day. So I spoke with Denise about how to do this. And because I'm not authorised to write from the council, so I responded as myself. So Denise has got the letter there somewhere. Whether she wants to read it out or not, I'm not sure. You're on mute.
Sorry, I'm mute. I've got the letter from Sybil Ralphs on screen. Sorry, I've not got your letter of response.
Yeah. So it says, Dear Peter, it's addressed to me. Stafford Moors District Council, the Stoke Council, recently been invited to submit an application. Goes on. They wanted a response immediately. I think I received that on the 17th, I think. No, the 15th, day before. So I wrote and said that I can't speak on behalf of the council, but from conversations that we've already had, I would expect the council to support her in her attempts to get the line open. And that's all I wrote. So hope you all agree with what I said there, but I didn't speak on behalf of the council. I spoke on behalf of myself. Mm-hmm. And I expressly said that the council haven't, it's my own personal opinion about what would happen.
No, I agree with that.
You know, it's nothing I could do about that, really. So it was interesting that it was such short notice. I thought I found amazing, really. You know, but still, clearly with the COVID thing, they're struggling to get this grant that they've got. They're aiming for £1 million grant to get some work done on it. And they're struggling because of COVID. It stopped it for some reason. I can't remember why, but for some reason.
Well, when they're a charity organisation involved initially, I'm talking a fair few years ago, probably 6, maybe 8, 9 years ago. They were on about from Cheddleton all the way through to Hanley.
Yeah. So the Cheddleton company, it's a limited company, and I think it's a registered charity. So it's a limited company registered charity, just like the Village Haulers. So they are getting funds, getting grants, and all that kind of stuff to first of all to open from Cheddleton to Leek. And that's the first thing. So I'm on the Moorlands Partnership Board, and we've been given quite a bit of money to them to get some lines opened up. But then once that's open, then if the next stage is to get this government funding to go from Leek into Stoke. So whether that will happen or not, I'm not sure. I'm more optimistic now than I was before, because there are other lines that have been opened up by the government, and we were expecting all the Stoke MPs and and the Moorlands MP very strongly supporting it. And I suspect that the next round of money given out, it will happen. I know there's a fund from the HS2 or HS4, whatever it is, I don't know, this high-speed thing. There's money put aside for that now because they were missing out Stoke originally, but now they're coming through Stoke. But they've got to put all connections in, and there's money in a pot for that as well. So I think there's a chance that it might happen, but who knows? There's a lot of political time and effort has been spent on it anyway, let's put it like that. So let's see. We might have Brownhead Station back, we never know. So where are we now then? So that's it really as far as that's concerned. There's nothing else to report on that. Email via website. Now this is unfortunately Linda's not here tonight, but this is when anybody goes onto the website, if you look on your own personal details, there's a form on there for people to fill out. Okay, when that form gets filled out, it goes to you as a councillor, but it also goes to the clerk. So we've had a couple before, but I've always dealt with them anyway. But it is addressed to you as a councillor, but like I say, it goes to the clerk, so it's a difficult one to deal with, really. Do you as a councillor deal with it, or does the council deal with it? I'm not sure. But anyway, because Linda's not here tonight, I don't know if she's responded to this or not, so this will just have to lie on the table until next month. You know, there's nothing we don't know about. We don't know what to do about it, really. And all it is, it's the footpath at the junction of Sixth Road and Brownhouse Road. Well, you can see that yourself. Vehicles have been reversing in. So we'll have to wait until next month when this will be on the agenda again next month when Linda can say whether she's done anything about it or not. Next item is request to purchase or contribute to a memorial cemetery bench. We got that, Denise?
Yeah, I don't know if you remember a while back, I think it was around June time, that a resident did send a request into the cemetery recorder asking if he could purchase a memorial bench in memory of his wife. And John did say there isn't a bench on that side at the moment, but at that particular meeting we were discussing that there was too many benches and people were applying for benches left, right and centre, and it was getting a little bit out of hand. So I was asked to write to the gentleman and just put it on hold, and we said the December meeting you'd make a decision on that.
So it isn't just to do with this gentleman's request, it's to do with the way we deal with this altogether, because we've had all sorts of issues with people painting their own blooming things and bringing their own seats in and all sorts of stuff, as you can remember. And we've got worries about people bringing their own things into the cemetery. What do you do when there's one that's broken? How do you deal with that, etc., etc.? So we had discussed it informally about what we do, and what we had kind of said was what we ought to be doing is making sure that we buy the seat so that it's ours, buy a really, really good one, so that it doesn't collapse. We maintain it, we make sure it's fit for purpose, and people who want to contribute to that can do so by putting a plaque on there. That's the only fair way, I think, of doing this.
And the other one was we site it as well.
Yeah, we site it, relocate it, so it's secured on proper flags, because we have had them where they haven't been, you know, it's been all sorts of stuff. So I think, Denise, I've had a look to see if there's any appropriate seats about. As you can see here, this is one that's provided by specialist kind of people for the cemeteries. As you can see, it's a substantial thing. It's not going to fall apart. That's so that we know that's £550. I know it's just I think we can put 3 plaques on there. So you put 3 plaques on there, and you charge, I don't know, £250 or something like that for the plaques. These are like the kind of plaques that you get to go on. I'm not sure if that price included the lettering or whatever, but we need to be using our plaques as well, so that they all conform with exactly the same thing, because they're blooming loads of different ones. There's even granite plaques you can put on them and all sorts of things you put on with glue. You know, worries me to death, that does, when you think about it. But so my kind of view is if we do it, and that's a separate thing, but if we do it, this is the way that we should do it. But us buying and owning the seat, make sure it's a proper one, us maintaining it forever in perpetuity, and they put their plaques on. Or sorry, they tell us what to put on the plaque, and we'll get them made and installed and fitted and everything. So I don't know if that's how you feel we should go. If we do decide to do it, because that's a separate thing. That's a separate thing, is where we locate these seats. Because if we do same as we've done on the other side, I think it'll look. We can start doing them now, because there's enough space in between the new flags, but the old ones they aren't, because they're what do you call it? They're cremated remains. So you can't really put seats in there amongst them, but the new ones now you can. Bit of a nuisance for Nigel, I've got to say, going round with his mower. But one of the things I did think would be probably better than putting where against the path is be putting them against the hedge, so that you can look across the cemetery as opposed to just looking at the hedge, which is what you'd be doing now. So with the back to the hedge is probably a better way of doing it. It means that we really need the hedge out, or at least cut back. But we would need to do that anyway. And I think it'd be quite a sheltered spot for me sitting there and looking across the cemetery. I think it'd be better than being alongside. I'm better for Nige as well, by the way, you know. But I don't know. Left with you. So what you think?
I did think that we did do a plan at one point, and we went down and had a look where seats potentially could go.
Did you?
So I don't know whether we have. John's got that, or
well, it's all different now, though, isn't it? It's different now, anyway.
Do we need to go down and have a look?
Well, I would suggest that that's the right answer. You know,
we've got to make a decision on these benches first before we know we've got room for a bench, but we need to make a proposal that we accept what we're going to do with the benches.
Yeah, so 2 separate things here. I mean, we had decided not to have any more. That was we have made that decision in the past, because we were full up. But now we're moving down. It's allowed us to have some space. So it's 2 separate things here. One is, do we want to allow people to have seats in now? Because if we don't, there's no point in talking about how we're going to do it, is there?
No.
So the principle's got to be, do we want to allow seats, a new seat per row or whatever? Do we want to allow seats back in the cemetery again, new seats?
Yeah, I'll propose that we need seats in the cemetery. Yeah, I think in a place of reflection, especially. Yeah. And
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. We've got a seconder for that.
I'll second that.
Yeah, we've got a seconder for that. It's good. We're all in favour of doing that. Yeah, I think we are. So that's good. So we're going to have a seat back. So that's it. So now, what's the right way of doing it?
Well, I propose what you said. Buy the seats. Offer the 3 plaques at a value that covers the overall cost, but and we keep control over what's there.
Yeah.
There's no other way of doing it. Otherwise, you're going to have all sorts of different grades of wood and different. Yeah.
There's already one that's in there. It stands out like a sore thumb.
Exactly.
So, I mean, if £550 is the price for a substantial bench, then potentially the costs need to be finalised and we need to make a decision on a particular bench. But potentially what you've just said there fits certainly within the kind of character that we want to put into the graveyard.
Yeah.
You could just give them a price and say, this is the bench you're having. This is how much it is.
Yeah. I think we could. I mean, we could say that. But the thing about having the 3 plaques on is that there's 3 people can have the opportunity of contributing to a bench then, as opposed to just one. Because last time they were getting a bit shirty. I think it's the best way to describe it. Because, oh well, he's had a bench, but I can't have one. It was like that, you know what I mean?
I think it's people why we're doing it, that, you know, we can't have a bench for everybody. It goes in there. Whereas a plaque, and you've got 3 per bench, it gives more people the opportunity.
That's right. Yeah.
Is 3 the right number? Can we get 4 on there? I mean, I'm just thinking does it lose its touch if there's 4 on there? I mean, is 3 the right number? I don't know.
Just put that picture up again, Denise. Let's have a look. I've got one here myself. One of myself, actually. So it's 5 foot along. That is that bench, by the way. So
1 every foot, sort of thing. 4 maybe.
I think
4 is exactly Rob. If you're squeezing them on, I mean, you could squeeze them on easily, but does it take away the?
I think the ones that are in there at the moment, the maximum we had requests for was 3 on 1 row.
Yeah.
I think.
I think if you if you have too many on, it loses it. I think 3.
That's yeah. I mean, the idea of the bench is that obviously everybody can enjoy it, and it's a reflection piece in the cemetery, isn't it? So the plaques, in effect, are a way of facilitating that bench being there.
Yeah.
So it's a memory to the individual, which is obviously meaningful to the family, but the actual bench, from our perspective, is for everybody.
Yeah. I think the other thing is really by doing it this way, it means that we aren't trying to stitch people up with, you know, it's covering the cost. It's going to cover the cost of installation. We need to get Nigel to tell us how much it's going to cost. There's 2 brackets that need to be put in as well to make it safe, so we know we're going to cover the costs and the maintenance for a short while anyway. We do need to. The other thing, like I was to just say here, is the CREM only put the bad blacks on for 5 years and then you have to pay again. I can't believe it.
But I was going to say,
can we look at the overall one we're reviewing? What the state of play is going to be with the cemetery, because obviously there's quite a few things that need looking at, isn't there?
Yeah,
these are additional.
Ours is a 100-year lease and everything else. So,
which I think's right, by the way. I mean, I think personally, I mean, getting less than that's ridiculous. I mean, I just have.
I think that is, too short. But obviously, if we're looking at the whole lot, we may as well look at the benches as well in the process.
So this gentleman then that's approached us, and we said we'd get back to him. Right? So we need to say yes, we are putting benches in. It's going to be that we're providing them, and he can purchase a plaque on the bench. Probably one of 3, probably, I think, to looking at it again here. I think putting 4 on makes it look less personal, doesn't it?
I think so.
I think 3, 1, I think is probably about right.
Yeah,
we'll maintain it, and etc. So they've got no worries about that.
Yeah.
But cost-wise, it'll be on the review period in January, February.
Yeah.
The other thing that obviously, which I said earlier, in the meantime, can we go down and have a look
Well,
where these benches potentially could be placed, rather than somebody coming back in 6 months and they want one on the next row and we haven't agreed it.
exactly. Totally agree, Jim. Yeah, Neil.
I was just going to say, I think we take away their ability to say where they want it.
Yeah.
They have it where we're putting it. And
Yeah. Yeah.
Without sounding too, crass, but
Yeah, no, I think that's without that, Neil, you're going to get all sorts of problems.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it has to enhance the graveyard for everybody, doesn't it? Yeah.
And those were the issues that we had before.
Yeah, totally agree. Okay, so we need to contact this person, Denise. I can't remember his name. I've met him in the cemetery, and he lambasted me, saying that we'd stopped him from having his flipping, having his able to sit with his wife. And I said, just told him that's not true. That isn't what's happened. He didn't realise I was on the council. He was just whinging about the council. And I said, that's not true. So I'm glad we've made the decision we have. And it is very sad when you see people like this guy actually just standing there in front of the grave. It's just absolutely unbelievable, really. He just stands there for half an hour every day, every single day. So I do think it's a good thing that we're putting chairs in. Right, okay, so that's what we'll do. We'll write to him and tell him those things. Okay, Denise. Next thing, items on notice. It's all cemetery tonight, isn't it? I've moved that the notice board is repaired and the cracked wall adjacent to it is repaired. Don't know if you've looked at the wall, but I know what it is. I know exactly what's caused it. And it isn't the foundation sunk. We had to, the gates, Jeff Perky made the gates, and the gates, as you remember, are massive. And he put a wheel on the bottom after about 6 months because it's cracked after 6 months. This is 40 years ago. And all that's happened is that crack's got bigger and bigger and bigger. So the only way to fix it, and we've had it pointed several times, but as you can see, it just keeps opening. It needs to be rebuilt properly to make it right again, or else it's still just going to carry on getting worse and worse. So the wall needs to be rebuilt. And I'm not suggesting we do it right now, but I think we should get it priced up and budgeted for. And if we can do it this year, then we do it. If not, we can't. Neil?
Can I suggest that we perhaps throw that wall into the new cemetery development as well, because there will need to be walls going on there as well, and you're better off getting one bloke coming to do the lot rather than having a little bit done now. And then
I think that's a good point. It's a good point. I just don't want the wall falling down. If you look at it, it's getting quite wide. But I think that's a good point. We will have to have walls built in the cemetery. The big long walls and all big walls.
If it was pointed up again now, would it sort of help for another couple, maybe 12 months, 2 years?
Well, I don't know. I could do with somebody having a look at it who knows a bit about it. Perhaps John.
Yeah.
I don't know.
If we can just do a remedial repair now, just to give us that time for Neil's idea.
Yeah. It needs something doing to definite. So, I don't know. What do you reckon? Can you have a look at it, Neil? Can you have a look at it and tell us what you think? You're a brickie, you know a bit about it.
Yeah, I'll go for butchers, yeah.
Good man.
No,
good man. So that's that. The other thing is, when I've put on here to repair the notice board, it needs taking down. It's rotten at the bottom. It isn't just rotten a bit, it's rotten completely. It's knackered. It needs a new notice board. Simple as that.
What notice is going there, Pete?
Notices that in there are the rules of the cemetery in the main.
Right.
And things like, so don't take your dogs on. It's in the wrong place, I'll tell you that as well, the notice board is. Because it's too far away from the wall and you can't read what's in there.
So you need it at the front of the cemetery then, do you? Because I was just thinking, cheapness wise and efficiency wise, you can probably quite easily get something that'll screw onto the toilet block wall.
I think it needs to be on the entrance. Yeah.
It does, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Is there somewhere where we can purchase notice board? Or
Yeah. Well, you did one for the village hall, that one. You got that one. So, the specialist people.
Can we get one sorted so we can get one put in?
Yep.
Can I propose that we buy a new notice board?
Yeah, I'll second that. Yeah.
If you're doing one, I thought you were on about doing something up Marshes Hill with notice boards as well. You may as well buy two.
Well, okay, there's something different there, really, because I think this thing we want here is like a proper, you know, made out of oak type thing, you know, a proper thing that's going to last, don't we? Whereas the one up there wants been someone does his stand a bit of, you know, air gun pellets fired at it.
If it's a firm that you're going to, it's, you know, just get them to do both.
It's okay. So the Marshes Hill actually isn't our job to do that. It's the district council's job to do that.
Oh, is that then?
So, you know, so shouldn't be spending on that really.
Oh, obviously, we need to just get a cost so we can agree a cost on it, don't we? Really, that's the thing.
Yeah.
So.
I'll tell you now, you won't get much change out for 800 quid for it.
Which is definitely not in the precept.
Exactly.
Definitely not in the precept.
A memorial one.
The good news is, like I said, we've had 10 grand. You know, I mean, we've had money to do the cemetery. You know, I've only spent 4.5, 5 grand or whatever it was. I can't remember now. So, what do we want to do? Get a notice board.
Yeah.
Well,
So
I mean, to be fair,
board.
you've just said the money's there, isn't it? In the 10 grand we've had forward. So potentially, yeah, I would second Nigel's proposal to just get one.
Okay. I'll ring everybody around. I'll find them out. Ring you around and let you know. Make sure you're okay with it first, anyway. But officially, we've agreed to do it tonight. But I won't sanction anything that's stupid anyway. You okay with that?
Yep.
Okay. Next item then. Item extension of local authorities. Have we got anything to bring to the district council or the county council? No. Okay. Next thing is planning. Mr. S. Beaumont, 197 Eileen Brown Edge, which is Keith's car park. Or the paper shop. Got any matter? Anything to comment about that, or this is the detailed plan? He's already got outline planning for it. You've all had a look at the plan, I presume.
Yeah.
I don't think they know there's a stream under it. What they put in, but anyway.
Well, there's two
The
major.
entrance to that. Sorry. Is
Sorry,
the
Tom.
entrance to that where the old paper shop used to be?
Yeah.
But
I know you've
yeah.
probably all dealt with this, but the pedestrian crossing, will that have an effect on where the pedestrian crossing is now then?
The pedestrian crossing is it's been approved and passed for it to stay in the same place.
That's fine. It was just
I do notice, Adrian, actually there's a change to the plan, and that they have moved the road in right alongside Keith's, whereas at one time it was further where the paper shop actually was. Now it's by Keith's, and I've still moved it away from the zebra crossing, and it's actually, to be fair, it's opposite the entrance to Cross Edge.
Yeah. Okay.
So you couldn't argue about it. I do think we've missed a big opportunity, as we ought to have argued that they paid for some, Pelican lights there.
Yeah.
So, I think we ought to have a word with our district councillors to sort of around the planning committee to see if they can still squeeze that out of them. You know, they're getting 7 houses there.
Yeah.
And just for putting some Pelican lights in, I think that would solve that problem we've got there.
Certainly might make it a bit safer anyway, that's for certain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I've got the other thing I will say about that is that people now aren't using them. I mean, I don't know if you've noticed nobody is using the zebra crossing anyway now.
They're not, no.
They're walking across the road straight into Keith's from cross edge. Kids as well. So anyway, so we've got any views about it? Then what are we saying? Approval or what? No comments, or the only comment we should have put forward perhaps is that we should have a traffic lights there or pelican crossings there or something. What we're going to say?
I agree with that. That crossing needs to be better lit. Yeah.
Yeah.
We should make a comment on it about the crossing.
Yeah, we should, shouldn't we?
100%. Yeah. Yeah.
Otherwise, we're not doing anything, are we?
No,
I
exactly.
think the comment should be that the crossing should be improved to make it more visible.
Yeah.
Make it safe.
Yeah, make it safer. Yeah.
Okay. Don't we know where we are with that? The next one is Mr. Richard Orr, Cope's Cottage, Broad Lane, Brown Edge.
Agricultural building.
Yeah. So this is in the top field. Which is an interesting one, really, because I'd like to know exactly how much he owns of that, because he's got a strange piece of ground, hasn't it? That we once were thinking of registering for as common land, but we never got round to it. So, any views? No views? No comments?
No.
No comment.
Okay. I'm surprised they need permission for an agricultural building, but it's because of its proximity to the road. Okay. So that's... Okay, so we've got no comment about that.
No.
Okay, so no comment then. Matters pertaining to issues in the parish for the next agenda. Got anything we want to raise? Next meeting?
I don't want to raise it. Well,
What you do?
yeah, but it won't be the next meeting. I need to. It was something that Phil brought up on the confidential meeting about a review or appraisal for Denise.
Right.
Or it to fall in line, basically. I thought about it after. Yes, Denise hasn't been in post for 12 months, but it'll be 18 months before she has an appraisal.
Yeah.
By the time she comes in, and obviously we'll be coming round to increments and things like that.
Okay.
So I thought about it, instead of having an appraisal, if we could just do some kind of review with her now, and then it'll be 12 months when we do next time.
Yeah.
Or finance meeting.
So this is an interesting thing, really, because now, as you know, any committees, and this isn't a committee, this is a working party at the moment. It's not a committee. Any committee has to have kind of a remit from the council. So I'm wondering whether we ought to formally make this into a committee so that we can be very clear about what its remit is.
Is this for the HR or for the
HR? Should it be a proper committee? It's undertaking probably the most sensitive and delicate job that the council's doing. And I just think that we ought to be thinking about that, whether we agree to do it. I think there's no, how can I say this? It's like we need to be clear on what the outcome of this committee's, or that this group of people are doing. Undertaking reviews, I think we should formally say that we need to be doing 2 or 3 reviews a year. You know? I think we also have to be very careful. And although I was flippant in the meeting, and we have to bear in mind that it's confidential, that we have to treat all our employees the same.
Yeah. The thing is, obviously, you could have one-to-ones more often, but an appraisal is normally done on a 1 yearly basis.
I know it's normally done that. We don't recommend that for any company nowadays, but that's another story.
No,
That's what our but but yes, that is what's done, because they usually link it to performance review and all that kind of thing, Jane, don't they? That's which means that it becomes a massive event and shouldn't be like that. So, well, I do think there should be more regular communication with the employees about things that are right and things that are wrong.
I mean, the thing is, we can have one-to-ones with what we agreed originally back months ago, where we could just have one-to-ones where we've got Neil, myself, Karen, where Denise could come to if she got any issues or wanted anything bringing forward, or we had, or any members of the council. But obviously, to make sure that things are up to date, and Denise's training in itself, because she needs obviously some kind of formal document to say her training's up to date, and we're keeping up with that.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that becomes a formal thing then, doesn't it? I mean, one-to-ones is...
and that's why I say, obviously, one-to-ones could be more regular basis, but obviously a review.
Yeah. Okay.
It was on the agenda actually for the local council awards scheme. You skipped over it by mistake.
Yeah.
You want that on the next agenda, or does that tally in with this?
Well, yes, it does tie in with this. This local council awards scheme, which I missed somewhere. I can't remember where it was. Somewhere on the agenda. We'll just bring it up at the next meeting. It's not a problem. But the thing about that is it's a way in which councils can work towards very high standards of operation. So it's like setting out, I can't remember what it says, but there's 3 levels, 3 stages, and you assess against that. This is how it works. You assess against those things, and means that you are maintaining very high standards of operation.
And the thing is, the appraisal works towards a development as well.
That's
it's a two-way street. That is.
Yeah, it is. So I'm not going to. I'll just bring that up at the next meeting anyway. The what they call it, the award scheme, and if you all have a look at what's involved in it before the next meeting, might be helpful. And then it's just that I think we ought to be showing our electorate that we are operating to the highest possible standard. And I think this is quite important because, as you can probably gather from all the stuff that's happening politically, it looks like district councils are going to disappear, either by design or by I don't know, all I'm saying is the planning department's going to disappear anyway. There's no question about that. So, and I think it's all changing, but one thing isn't changing, that Parish Council is going to be expected to do more stuff. So we need to be absolutely sure that we're up to speed with everything.
And I mean, obviously, I'd thought about it. Normally you'll have a review, 12 monthly, especially somebody new in post, but you'd have a catch up before that point. Yeah. But if we do that, we're always going to be out of sync with the pay increase, and the finances. So to bring it back in line, do we do a quick review on this one to make sure that Denise is, feeling comfortable in everything that she's doing? Sorry, Denise, I'm talking about you while you're here. and then we put it in for one-to-ones if needed, and then a full 12-month review on the finances.
And the other thing is, we'll be careful of this. It says here development. It isn't just Denise, she's an employee, but councillors also. We've got councillors on here that haven't actually received any formal training yet at all. And I think that's should be addressed. So let's leave that to the next meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want me to pull a document together and then send it round? And if anybody
Good idea.
you want to add anything onto it?
Yeah, good idea.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Anything else then? Anything else that councillors want to bring forward? No. Okay. Thank you very much for the meeting. It's been very useful. We got through a lot of stuff again tonight. And all I can say is season's greetings and a Merry Christmas and all that kind of stuff. And I won't see you in the pub.
No.
Unfortunately, you're going to go on this Christmas without a pub, but still.
Nightmare.
Yeah. Just have to get drunk in front of the fire.
All work.
I suspect we'll be doing that's what we'll be doing more of.
Yeah.
More walking and riding it is then.
Yeah, something like that, yeah. Okay then, all the best everybody.
All the best,
Merry Christmas, everybody. Yeah.
Merry Christmas.
Have a good
Merry Christmas.
See you later.
Yeah.